This is your Math 8A Chapter 4 Practice Test Review video. And this is Mr. Marbut here to review every single problem on this test with you right now so that you're ready to get a great grade on the Chapter 4 test. As you are watching this video, please feel free to fast forward, rewind, skip around, and feel free to not watch the whole video, all right? Because you might not need help on every single problem on this practice test. So feel free to fast forward to the part where I talk about the problem that you need help with, okay? So here's what I'm gonna do first. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and give you all the answers, all right? So this is just gonna let you see what all the answers look like so that you can first just go through and grade this practice test and see how you did. All right, so feel free to pause this video right now and check numbers 1 through 6. Then you can pause this video again and check the answers to 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. For 10 and 11, I didn't connect the dots, but you can see what your linear function would look like on these. Ooh, that wasn't a very straight line. All right. On the back side, here's 12, 13, 14. Again, you can pause the video right now if you need to. Then the last two problems, 15 and 16. Some of these answers came out real funky and weird, so I apologize that some of these problems were not designed in such a way to give you really nice, crisp, clean, clear answers. Some of them were really fractiony and stuff. And so here we go. At this point, I'm going to start going through problem by problem by problem by problem. I'm just going to start with number 1 and get all the way through number 15. So again, if you understood number 1, feel free to fast forward this video until you get to the problem that you need help with. Here we go. On all these first few problems, 1 through 7, we're going to write an equation in slope-intercept form. So every single one of the answers to numbers 1 through 7 is going to be y equals something x plus something, or minus something, depending on if the y-intercept is a negative. All right? And you could even write that in the answer column if you want to. And all we're going to try to do is fill in the slope and the intercept, the slope and the intercept, slope and the intercept for every single problem. So for number 1, it's pretty easy. We're just going to put a 1/4 where the slope goes and a -5 where the y-intercept goes. So the answer to number 1, this is kind of a freebie. If you don't get number 1 right, we're going to have a real rough time on the Chapter 4 test. All right, if we don't know about how to do that, you better go back and study hard, okay? So you are given the slope, you're given the y-intercept, you're given the two things you need. For number 2, you're given the slope, okay? So we know it's y equals 0x plus something. Wait a second. What kind of a slope has what kind of a line has a slope of 0? That has to be a horizontal line, doesn't it? Yeah? Okay, so on this problem, if this line goes through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 4, what would the y-intercept be? Wouldn't it just be 4? Oh, and so I'm going to put the number 4 right here, and my answer is just going to be y equals 4. Because the slope is 0, so it's 0x. You could put 0x plus 4 if you wanted to, but might as well just put y equals 4. And remember, vertical lines have that kind of equation. It's just going to be y equals a number, and that number is the y-intercept. Okay, number 3, we're given a slope and we're given a point, so we know it's y equals 4x plus something because the slope is 4. I'm going to use this 2, 0 in order to figure out what that b value is. So this is an x, this is a y. I'm going to put a 2 where the x is, so instead of 4 times x, it's going to be 4 times 2. I'm going to put a 0 where the y is, and then I'm going to figure out what b would have to be in order to make this true. So this would be 8 plus something is 0. Oh, well 8 minus 8 equals 0, so b must be -8. And then I know my equation, because I know my slope and I know my intercept, so my answer is going to be y equals 4x, because the slope was 4, minus 8, because the y-intercept was negative 8. All right, so that is the way to do this without drawing a picture of it. If you want to, you can solve this by drawing a picture of it as well. All right, it said the slope was 4, and it goes through 2, 0. So here's 2, 0. The slope of 4 means it goes up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, right? But that's not helping me figure out the y-intercept. I'd have to go down 4 over 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, down 4. Oh, there's my b value. What is it? Negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My b value is negative 8. Now I know my slope and my y-intercept. And that, again, is another way that you can tell that the solution to this problem is y equals 4x minus 8. And again, I don't mind if you are using a graph and drawing a picture of it to solve this, or if you're doing it more algebraically, or the best thing you can possibly do on this test when it really matters, when you really want to get things right, is do it one way, then do it the other way to double check to make sure you got it right. That way you're super confident and you're going to get a great grade on this test. Okay, moving on. Number 4, it does not give us a slope or a y-intercept on this problem, so I don't know this number or this number to start off with on number 4, but I can figure it out. So I can figure out that the change in y is plus 4, okay? The change in y is plus 4, so for my slope ratio, the top is going to be 4. What's the change in x? Ew! It goes from 9 down to negative 2. That means it loses 9 and then it loses 2 more. That means it goes down 11. What a yucky, gross slope. Well, that's what we're going to have to work with. Negative 4/11 is my slope. So my equation is going to be y equals negative 4/11 x plus something. Uh-oh. How am I going to find that something? I could plug in the 9 and the 2 for x and y, or I could plug in the negative 2 and the 6 for x and y. Which one should I choose? Doesn't matter. You'll get the same answer either way. I like 9 and 2 better because there's no negatives. So I'm going to put a 9 here. Uh-oh, gross. And then I'm going to put a 2 here. All right, all right. Can I do negative 4/11 times 9? Yeah, I can. So negative 4/11 times 9 is like 9 over 1, right? 9 over 1. So negative 4 times 9 is negative 36. 11 times 1 is 11, right? So now you have this. Yeah. So I'm going to have to add 36/11 to both sides of this equation. That'll cancel. That'll tell me what b equals. So now I have to figure out what is 2 plus 36/11. All right, so 2 over 1 plus 36 over 11. Oh, you know what? If I multiply this and the top and the bottom by 11, what's 1 times 11 is 11. What's 2 times 11? 22. Oh, okay. I'm close. So 22 plus 36 is 58/11. That is my b value. It's gross, but it works, okay? And that means my solution, my answer on this one, is y equals negative 4/11 x, that was my slope, yuck, plus 58/11 is my y-intercept. It's not pretty, but it's correct, all right? I'm hoping maybe on the actual Chapter 4 test, these problems will be engineered to have some more kind and less fraction-y answers. We'll just wait and see on that. All right, number 5. What about the equation for a horizontal? Oh, wait, we talked about a horizontal line. Remember up here on number 2, horizontal lines are just y equals a number. So for number 5, it's just going to be y equals a number. What's the number? Well, if it goes through negative 8, negative 7, then every y-coordinate is going to be negative 7, because if you graph it, right, if it goes through negative 7, right, somewhere, then it's going to be going through negative 7 anywhere. So that's it. That's your answer. Y equals negative 7. Number 6 is a vertical line. So if it's vertical instead of horizontal, What's the opposite of just an equation that's just y equals a number? Well, it's going to be just x equals a number. And instead of putting the y-intercept number, I'm going to put the x-intercept number. So think about a line that goes through 11, -9. That means it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, -9. What's the x-intercept? 11. And so that's my equation. Really, 5 and 6 are that easy. It's just y equals a number, x equals a number. You just have to remember that that's how horizontal lines work, and that's how vertical lines work. It's just y equals the y-intercept or x equals the x-intercept. All right, cool. Let's move on to number 7. We are still writing equations. This time we're writing an equation for the line that's graphed here. Again, I need to know the slope. I need to know the y-intercept. I can tell the slope is -1, 2, 3, 4. Forward 2. Better yet, I'll say the slope is -2. I can see with my eyes that the y-intercept is right here. And so the equation is simply y equals -2, x plus 3. Yay for problems that are on the easier side. Okay, cool. 8 and 9 are just problems that are going to make sure that we know how to do slope. This is actually kind of a chapter 3 skill, but it has to do with chapter 4 and linear functions as well. So remember, slope is change in y over change in x. You can also think of it as, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Or what I like to do is just draw little arrows. How much does the y change by? The y changed by nothing. It didn't change at all. How much did the x change by? The x went up by doesn't matter how much the x changed by. 0 over anything is 0. So this has a 0 slope. And you can tell that it's horizontal because if the y coordinate stays the same, it must be a flat horizontal line on this one as well. All right, number 9, same idea. Change in y. Change in y. Well, it starts at -8 and it ends at +1, so it must have gone up 9, right? It increased by 9. What happened to the x? It went from 2 to 4, so that went up 2, so my slope is 9 over 2. And you could turn that into a decimal, you could turn that into a fraction, you could turn that into whatever you want to, but why change it? 9 over 2 is perfectly fine, so I'm just going to leave it as 9 over 2. Just works for me. Okay. 10 and 11, if you can't graph a linear function, right, that's an important skill in chapter 4. So let's hope we know how to do it. On number 10, do I know my slope? Yep. Do I know my y-intercept? Yep. Which one do I start with? Start with the y-intercept. Then, where does it go from there? -4 over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's negative, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if this was a test on Edge Elastic would do the rest for you, right? It would connect the dots for you. Since we're doing it on pencil and paper, boom. There we go. We've got a line. And a negative slope means it should go downhill, and it does go downhill. That makes me feel good. That makes me think that I probably did this one correctly. All right. Number 11. So we've got 3y minus x equals 6. This is not in slope-intercept form. So I could get this into slope-intercept form by trying to get that y by itself. My first step would be, if I had this, I would probably want to add x to both sides so that I have 3y equals x plus 6. That's still not slope-intercept form, but it's closer. What I need to do to get it into slope-intercept form is divide it by 3 so that I have y by itself. That's what slope-intercept form is supposed to look like. What's my slope? 1/3 x. And what's my intercept? 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, so boom. And then up 1 over 3. And again, Edge Elastic will do the rest for you, right? Edge Elastic will do the rest for you. If you wanted to, you could count down and back 3, right? That would be fine as well, just to give you a little bit more of idea what that line is going to look like. All right, so that's what we're looking at for number 11. If you didn't want to do this where you turned it into slope-intercept form, there is an alternative approach to number 11. We graphed at one point by finding x-intercepts and y-intercepts. So if I took this equation and I put a 0 in for y, what would the x-intercept be? Okay, so does it look like it goes through -6 on the x-axis? Yep. If I took this equation and I put a 0 in for x, what would the y-intercept be? Y would have to be 2. Oh, okay, so yeah. You can graph it using x-intercept and y-intercept as well. If you'd like to, you should get the same graph. Okay, that's the front side. That's 1 through 11. Let's look at the back side of this test. Multiple choice. Well, at the worst, you've got a 1 in 4 chance, right? At the worst, you've got a 1 in 4 chance. You could at least guess, but we don't want to guess. We want to get it right for realsies. So here we go. I need to figure out if you go from here to here, what's the slope? Okay, if I go from 2 to -1, that means I decreased by 3. If I go from -2 to 4, that means I increased by 6. So what's my rate of change? What's my slope? My slope is -3 over 6, aka -1/2. So that means right off the bat, it's not A, it's not B, it's got to be either C or D. All right, so now you have a 50-50 shot. That's better, that's better. How do I figure out if the y-intercept is +1 or -1? Well, could I draw a graph of it again? Sure. Here, I'll make a little space on my graph paper. There, I'll cover up the work I did before. Let's graph. Okay, and I'm going to graph -2, 2, and 4, -1. So I'll just draw a little quick graph. -2, 2, and 4, -1. 1, 2, 3, 4, -1. Okay, can I tell what my y-intercept is there? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe if I count my slope. Maybe if I count my slope. I know my slope is -1/2, so it goes down 1, oh, there's my y-intercept. Down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2. What's my y-intercept? 1. Yeah, my y-intercept is 1. So I know C is the correct answer to this problem. Could I have done this without drawing a picture? Sure. How would I do that? Well, I knew the slope was this, so I knew the equation was y equals -1/2 x plus something. So what's that something? Well, when x equals -2, y equals +2. Again, we've done this a bunch of times now, so hopefully you're pretty comfortable with this process, but I'm just going to show you again in case you need it. So what's -1/2 times -2? That's +1. And 2 equals 1 plus 1, so b must equal 1. There we go. Okay. 13 and 14. We're writing things in slope-intercept form that aren't already in slope-intercept form. So how do I take an equation that's not in slope-intercept form and make it into slope-intercept form? I got to try to get this y all by its lonesome self. So I'm going to have to add 9 to both sides of this equation. Oh, but wait a second. Before I add 9 to this, should I probably go ahead and distribute? Yeah, that's probably a good idea. So -2x plus -2 times 2. And then I'm going to add the 9, right? Add the 9. And that will get me y by itself. Hopefully the way I wrote this made sense. So let's simplify this and just call it y equals -2x plus 5. Ah, that wasn't too hard. No problemo. Okay, next problem. This is in standard form, but we don't care. We want it in slope-intercept form. Again, I just need to get the y by itself. Before I can get the y by itself and get rid of that 6, I've got to get rid of this, right? Okay, so now I have 6y. We're closer to having y by itself. We'll have to divide by 6 later, but first, what do I get when I have 24 minus 9x? Well, I could write 24 minus 9x, but that doesn't look like slope-intercept form. A better version of this would be 6y equals negative 9x plus 24, right? Same thing, negative 9x plus 24, but now it looks slope-intercept-ish because I have the x part here and the other part there. And then my last step is going to be divide everything by 6 so that I do get y by itself. What do I get when I do negative 9 divided by 6? Since it's slope-intercept form, I can just leave this as a fraction, right? And 24 divided by 6 is 4, so that's my answer. Y equals negative 3/2 x plus 4. All right, just 2 more. And this is where the very last thing that we talked about with chapter 4 comes in. We got one problem about parallel stuff, and we got one problem about perpendicular stuff. So we got to remember how that works. I need something parallel to this equation. So what is the slope of this equation? It's not in slope-intercept form, so I got to do the same thing I just did up here. Okay, so I'm going to take away x. Boom, 3y equals negative x plus 6, right? Negative x plus 6, divide by 3, y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2. It doesn't really matter. What we're looking for is the slope. So my slope is negative 1/3, and it's parallel to that. So my slope for my line is negative 1/3. My answer is going to be y equals negative 1/3 x plus something, right? What's the something over here? That's where this comes in. Y equals negative 1/3 x plus something. What is that something? I don't know. Let's put a 5 here. Let's put a 3 here. Oh, gross. Another gross fraction that doesn't multiply nicely and cleanly. Yuck. That's going to be negative 5/3. So the opposite of negative 5/3 is I'm going to add 5/3 to both sides of the equation. That will give me b by itself equals, 3 plus 5/3. That's 3 over 1. Let's call that 9 over 3, right? Multiply by 3. Multiply by that 3. So let's call it 9/3 plus 5/3, which is 14/3. That's my lovely b value, my lovely y-intercept on this problem. And that's why that problem comes out kind of gross, but that's where that weird answer came from. Again, hopefully the real test, the real test on Edulastic, hopefully it'll be engineered to have some better, nicer, more calm and reasonable answers so that we don't have to get freaked out by fractions. But there's the explanation, there's the answer for you. One more problem, number 16. Thankfully, we're starting in slope-intercept form, right? But we want something perpendicular to this. So, what's a slope that's perpendicular to 4/5? Opposite, reciprocal. That means we flip it and change the sign. The positive turns to negative, and the 4 over 5 turns to 5 over 4. Okay, so that's my slope. I know it's going to be y equals negative 5/4 x plus something. And then I'm going to use my point to figure out what that something is. All right, I'm going to do this work over here because this junk got in the way a little bit. So I know it's y equals negative 5/4 x plus something. I'm going to put a negative 4 in for x. So negative 5/4 times negative 4. Okay, that is going to come out not too bad. Not too bad. Then I'm going to put a negative 3 in for y. Okay, so let's think about negative 5/4 times negative 4. The negatives are going to cancel. The 4s are going to cancel. That's a 5, right? That's a 5. So if I take away 5, now I'm finally going to get b equals negative 3 minus 5, negative 8. That's my answer to number 16. And there you have it. 16 delicious, wonderful problems of Chapter 4 goodness. And if all of that made sense, then you should be in really good shape to get a great grade on our Chapter 4 test. Thank you for watching Mr. Marbut's Math 8A Chapter 4 practice test video. Hope that made sense to you, and I will see you later.